be a screw, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to Cypherfics. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the 10th part of, What If Ichigo Enters KUROINU? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of Takamagara 2012 on fanfiction.net. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Back in the throne room. Am I power? What happened? Seishin questioned as he fell to his knees, his strength weakening with each second passed. Just then, he heard Kabuto chuckle. The Soul Reaper struggled to turn his body around to look at the snake in the room. I knew you would plan to use your Bankai, so I used my newest jutsu, Chaotic Discord, to disconnect you from your sources of power. Kabuto chuckled. You are powerful, that much is true, but not even you can break this power. I'm glad you joined our team, Kabuto. Volt said with a chuckle. Now, I can finally have some fun with you. Volt charged toward Seishin full speed. Seishin would have been able to counter his speed, but due to the seal on his back, he couldn't be able to fight back, let alone move. Volt sent a strong, powerful punch in Seishin's gut, sending him floating 3 feet in the air before the leader slammed a roundhouse kick into Seishin's right temple, sending him flying into a wall next to Aaliyah and Celestine, leaving a large spider web-shaped crack on the wall. Come on, Samyu, why aren't you fighting back? Volt rhetorically asked, making the Soul Reaper growl. Seishin tries to get back up, but Volt grabs him by the collar of his uniform. The leader smirked. Is that all you got? Seishin said before spitting in his face. Humph, Volt scowled at Seishin's remark before he turned to Aaliyah and Celestine. Take a good look at your savior, ladies. Soon, he'll be nothing but an interior decoration in this castle. Volt lightly tossed Seishin up in the air, just to be on the receiving end of a dark red energy ball of fire. The attack struck Seishin strong in the chest, sending him flying to the other half of the throne room, before the ball of energy exploded, damaging both him and scorching the top half of his uniform. In Seishin's inner world, the formless being grew worried for the young man, struggling to fight back due to Kabuto's jutsu. Seeing Seishin's perseverance, the formless being began to take shape in the form of Seishin. It immediately flew from the shadows to the center tower, where it saw a small pink energy sphere, and in it was a small red and black flame. The mysterious presence raised his arm above him and swiftly chopped the sphere like it was a piece of wood. The sphere broke and Seishin's inner hollow appeared, drained and exhausted. When the inner hollow slowly opened his eyes to see the mysterious figure, he watched as the figure summoned a mask. A pitch black and neon white hollow mask. What are you, and are you helping us? Seishin's hollow asked, which got the other's attention. The masked being looked at him eerily for a brief minute before he simply nodded. MSTR. I must help. My MSTR. The masked being answered. Back in the castle, Seishin was unconscious for a moment while Aaliyah helplessly watched. She then noticed his hand slowly moving, seeing that he's still hanging on, barely. She immediately cried out to him. Seishin. Aaliyah cried as she watched Seishin struggle to get back up. The young man slowly got back up, despite his body covered in scratches and blood leaking from his lower lip. Don't worry about me, Aaliyah. Seishin said as he was heavily panting. I'm not dead yet, and I don't plan on dying. You will soon enough. Volt said as he twirled his broadsword. Face it, Kabuto has stopped you from using your powers. I became even stronger than before and you're at the edge of death. Any last words, scum? Kabuto? Aaliyah thought before turning her sights to the cloaked snakeman on her right. She saw that Kabuto's right hand was glowing. Seeing that he's the reason Seishin's weaker, Aaliyah immediately went into action. She immediately formed 3 blue fireballs in her hands and fired them at Kabuto. The snakeman was struck by the ball of flame, hurting him, and immediately deactivated his seal to heal himself. The seal on Seishin's back was gone and the young man felt his power returning. Celestine was surprised that Aaliyah had such potential hiding away, even from her, as she watched her running towards the young man. Volt spotted her and tried to stop her, but Aaliyah used her power to manifest 5 light knights to protect her. While the knights were keeping Volt busy, Aaliyah arrived to help Seishin back up. "Seishin, are you alright?" she asked. "I'm hanging on, somehow," Seishin answered as he slowly got back up. "Kabuto's seal had suppressed my strength. Any chance you can help restore it?" "I'll try my best," Aaliyah replied before she held out her hands. As her hands glowed a light green, Seishin slowly felt his power returning. Unaware of her, Volt was able to defeat the light knights before spotting the very elf healing Seishin. "I can feel it. My strength's returning," Seishin said. "Hang on, I'm almost done," Aaliyah said, until she felt a shock coursing all over her body and black leaf-like marks stretched out all over. Aaliyah struggled to move as she saw the markings on her arms. "Darn it. Can't move. Kabuto's black plague paralysis. DMN it," Seishin muttered, until he saw Aaliyah muster up all the strength to move despite the paralysis in effect. "Why can't you just stay down?" Kabuto said as he tried to add more power into his jutsu. Aaliyah fell on one knee, but after seeing Seishin once more, she pushed herself back up by sheer will alone. "Someone has to stand up and fight for what's right in this world," Aaliyah said as she glared at Volt and Kabuto. "For the past weeks, I couldn't help but see my teacher, and my friends being used as SXL objects for you and any grimy man in this town. It made me sick to my stomach and I wanted to spew my guts out. But it all changed when I summoned this man you're fighting. Seishin and his team were able to save my friends, and bring hope back to the town. Because of him, he gave me the strength I never had." "Aaliyah," Seishin said. "Now here I am, risking it all to defeat you and help my friends save my teacher," Aaliyah said as she raised her arm forward and outstretched. She then placed her left hand on her right arm and gripped it firmly for extra support, with the palm facing flat toward the target. "Aaliyah, when did Seishin gasped as he knew what move she was about to make. Heido number 88. Hairyu Gekizoku Shinten Rei-o. Aaliyah cried as she fired a gigantic beam of electrical and spiritual energy as big as a truck at Volt and Kabuto. They gasped at how much the elf apprentice has. Seishin's more surprised at how Aaliyah was able to learn a high-powered move like that. Seconds before Aaliyah used her attack, Seishin mustered up all his strength and used Sonido to get Celestine before the beam struck the two and made a large explosion, making a hole through the castle. Aaliyah felt the paralysis vanish and she was free to move, although that beam took everything she had to fire it, while fighting the paralysis. Seishin reappeared beside her, panting heavily and feeling weak again while setting Celestine to the side again. "Aaliyah. How?" Seishin was about to ask how she learned that move until she placed her finger on his lips. "Hush, Seishin. Just stay still and let me heal you," Aaliyah said as she began to heal him. Just then, Ichigo, Oriheim and the others arrived in time to see Seishin with Aaliyah and Celestine. The three smiled at the others as they were about to regroup until "Goo!" Aaliyah gasped when she felt a broadsword pierce her through from behind. Silenced gasps were seen by Seishin, Celestine and the others before the elf apprentice fell backward and landed on her side. "Oh, no. Aaliyah." Celestine gasped. "Aaliyah." Seishin cried as he and Celestine rushed over to her. He rested her head on his lap, keeping her close but comfortable. Seishin, I'm sorry. Aaliyah said. Don't speak, you have to save your strength. Seishin said as he held his hand out over, attempting to heal her, but due to Kabuto's jutsu, his connection with his inner hollow isn't back. He tries to use his hollow healing ability but it wasn't working. Come on, hollow. Help me heal her. Seishin cried. He tried to connect to his inner hollow but nothing happened. It was then when Aaliyah placed her hands over his. It's okay, Seishin. Aaliyah said to the teary-eyed young man before Celestine tries to heal her as well using her magic though it was weakened from her SXL slavery with Volt. She was able to stop the bleeding, but she wasn't able to seal the wound. I was able to stop the bleeding, but I'm not strong enough to heal her completely since Volt had been using me as some SXL object. Celestine said. I'm sorry. I wish I was stronger, like you. Then I would have stopped Volt before all of this. It's not your fault, Celestine. Seishin said. Shin. Aaliyah said before she started coughing. Aaliyah, save your strength. I'll figure out a way to heal you. Aaliyah looked at the young man stuttering and panicking a little before raising her right hand, only to softly caress his face. Seishin froze before feeling her hand caressing his face while smiling weakly with tears in her eyes. I'm glad. I gave you, my first. Aaliyah's vision grew blurry, her heartbeat slowed to a crawling stop and her body became motionless as she drew her last breath. Seishin, shocked, pulled the broadsword out of her and held her close. Tears fell from his face as he sobbed. Everyone else watched as Seishin cried while holding Aaliyah's dead body in his hands before they got teary-eyed, seeing how close Aaliyah was to them. She was like a sister, a friend, a talented cook and above all, the person who needed help the most. Just then, he watched the broadsword float up in the air and flew into the smoke cloud before two people came out of the cloud. It was none other than Volt and Kabuto. Ichigo grew furious at what happened and just as he was about to attack, Seishin, without looking, used Hado No. 1. Show to push Celestine into Ichigo and the others, then he used Bakado No. 81. Dankyu, as a wall between them, keeping them away from Volt. Stupid elf. How dare she damage me like that? Volt yelled. No matter, she's no longer my problem. You treat women like they're objects. Don't you have any shame? Seishin muttered aloud getting Volt's attention. Don't I have any shame? Volt questioned Seishin's question while the young man remained unmoved as his hair covered his eyes. You wouldn't understand, women are meant to serve the boot of the strong. All women are tools to serve the men of this land, and if a tool finally breaks down after many times of use, we dispose of that tool and get a new one to take its place. Seishin listened to Volt's lecture on who serves the strong. The words he said were so wrong, that it could make him want to vomit. He remained silent as his anger continued to build. Unaware of them, sparks of black and white flashed around his right fist. Do you understand? Volt continued. Not even Olga's dark magic, the knight's last defense, and even Celestine and that dead elf I killed can stop us. What makes you think I am wrong? All I am doing for this nation is a favor. You really are pathetic. Seishin muttered aloud as he cradled Aaliyah's dead body in his arms. Volt continued to stare down at the unmoved man. Your reasons are a plague to this land, and every man that listened to your garbage is just as corrupt and desperate as you. The only one who's pathetic and desperate is you, but it won't matter since you will get to die with her. Project Continental will be a reality and KUROINU will rule it all. Begone, you weak little man. His eyes squinted in anger as he raised his broadsword over him, while aiming down at Seishin's neck. Silence surrounded Seishin as time slowed down to a crawl. Memories of Seishin's time in Salinas flooded his mind like a rushing tidal wave. His time with the Princess Knights and Aaliyah, Ichigo, and his Soul Reaper friends come to support him, restoring Kachu and Nina's happiness after Jinyal's conquest of Dragondala. Spending time with Fenrir, Kurenai, Murasaki, Ingrid, Asagi, and Sakura and getting them to know more of Salinas and the other worlds and each of the passionate affections he, Aaliyah and the knights shared. Seishin slowly turned his head to the throne's entrance, only to see Ichigo, Yoriichi, Olga and Chloe, Alicia and Prim, Claudia, Sakura, Murasaki, Ingrid and Asagi, everyone, even Celestine was crying out for him. Volt was mere inches from Seishin's neck, preparing for the Shinigami's decapitation. Volt. I made a promise to protect this land from scum like you, and, even if it costs me my soul. It was at that moment Seishin felt something taking over him. His eyes were being overshadowed by the bangs of his hair before something began to well up inside him. The ground around him, Kabuto, and Volt began to shake like an earthquake struck the land as his spiritual pressure skyrocketed to new levels. Everyone gasped at Seishin as black and white sparks of electricity and a vortex of pressurized air swirled around him and Aaliyah. Seishin growled as he felt his rage boiling, ready to be let out like a volcano, ready to erupt. Black and white aura seeping out of his body like small ghostly blobs. With a mighty roar, Seishin unleashed his power before he was enveloped in a pillar of black and white spiritual pressure. Everyone froze, even Volt and Kabuto as they saw the pillar of spiritual pressure in the middle of the room where Seishin stood. Just then, the pillar dispersed into little ball of energy, the size of marbles. Seishin was enveloped in a glowing black and white aura that completely covered his body like a skin-tight suit. The only thing that was in his hands was Aaliyah's dead body. Seishin. The young man, enveloped in his aura, heard Ichigo call him. He turned to the others and slowly walked towards them with Aaliyah in his hands. When he got to his friends and HAREM, he stopped. With his right hand, he made Aaliyah float in the air using his spirit energy. With his left hand, he placed it on the invisible wall he cast earlier and crushed it with ease. The muted man gently gave Aaliyah to Celestine and without a word, Seishin placed his right hand on Aaliyah's chst, where the wound was as red markings appeared on his arm and body once more. It was Seishin using Sabatial without uttering the word, the ball of energy quickly returned to his hand before it was released in a small pulse. Within seconds, the wounds were gone, her heart was beating and Aaliyah was alive once more. When she opened her eyes, she noticed that she was in Celestine's arms. Celestine-sensei? Aaliyah asked as she saw her smiling and crying at the same time before hugging her tightly. Everyone smiled, happy to see Celestine's loyal apprentice alive once again. What happened? I thought I was dead. Yes, but Seishin brought you back. Celestine said before she and the others noticed Seishin walking towards Volt and Kabuto. Seishin. Aaliyah called his name when he stopped to pick up his Zanpakuto. Protect. Seishin's distorted voice projected, surprising everyone. Must protect Salinas and its people. It was then that the skin-tight aura began to peel off like a snake shedding off its skin. Bit by bit the aura peeled off the young man until he was fully revealed. Everyone was shocked to see Seishin's new power before their eyes. His skin was ghost white, and his Soul Reaper uniform, from his sandals to his forelegs was enveloped in bluish-white flames. His wrists were enveloped in ash-black flames, resembling cuffs. The rest of his uniform from his upper legs and chst were pitch black. His hair, that was once red, turned ghost white, red eyes became bluish-white and scara was pitch black. A growl, much like a dragon, was made as he glared strong at Volt and Kabuto. The hollow mask Seishin summons isn't the same either. His hollow mask was the same design but instead of the regular colors, it was pitch black with illuminating neon white lines around the eyes, snout and below the jawline. The horns on the mask along with the edges were jagged and ridged. He then gripped his Zanpakuto before it immediately entered its shurikai. However, it was also changed due to Seishin's new power. It retains its shurikai, but the blade was bluish-white, the flame-shaped hilt was a light blue, and both the metal winged prongs and the dragon's mark wrapped around the blade were literally on fire. Ichigo, I don't know much about what powers you Soul Reapers have, but is that something you've learned? Murasaki asked the orange-haired man as she never left her sight on Seishin's new power. Seishin and I know how to use our holification ability, Ichigo answered as his sight remained locked on Seishin as well, but that is something I have never seen anyone do. What kind of power is that? Yoriichi wondered. As Seishin glared at Volt and Kabuto, the leader's scowl was quickly replaced with a smug smirk before he chuckled at Seishin's new appearance. So, that's it? Volt rhetorically asked. A new mask and a change in skin color? Is your new appearance supposed to scare me? A new appearance isn't going to ignore the fact that you will soon die, Samuel. Accept your fate. Kabuto said as he summoned a small army of anacondas and ordered them to attack him. Seishin stood still, unmoved like a statue as he glared at Volt and Kabuto while the snakes quickly approached him. Just as the snakes were inches away from sinking their fangs in the young man, his Ryatsu made the snakes immediately disintegrate out of existence. Kabuto gasped at the unmoved young man and that the snakes he summoned didn't even land a single bite on him. Snake Sage Art, Chaotic Discord. Kabuto immediately used his jutsu once more to weaken Seishin once more, but the seal immediately broke. Kabuto was surprised that his jutsu couldn't stop Seishin anymore. Before the snakeman could react, he received a force palm from Seishin. The attack struck Kabuto in his gut, sending him flying into the wall behind him. He became immune to Kabuto's powers now, Ingrid said as she remained astonished, and made a quick counterattack against him. Looks like Seishin has the upper hand now. Seishin. Kachu said as she remembered the time he came to her rescue from Jinyal and Kabuto when they tried to steal the Dragon Princess's dormant power. She remembered the words he said to her back then and what he had done to help restore her pride. She continues to look at Seishin as he confronts Volt before Kabuto slowly gets back up. Seems Kabuto's tricks can't stop Seishin anymore. Time I do it the old-fashioned way. Volt raised his broadsword up over the right side of his head before swinging it strong and fast, attempting to cleave through Seishin's head. Ichigo and the others all cried out for him, but Seishin remained unmoved. A simple growl was made as Seishin saw the sword, and in an instant, he blocked Volt's swing with just his index finger, surprising everyone in the throne room. And no way. Yoriichi gasped. He blocked it with just a finger. Just like when I fought Aizen for the first time. Ichigo said as he remembered his first fight against Aizen back in the Soul Society. Man, talk about déjà vu. Whoa. Aaliyah said as she and Celestine watched at what Seishin will do next. Volt was surprised that Seishin blocked one of his strongest swings with little effort. Angered, he continued to swing his sword rapidly at Seishin. His swings were fast, but it was nothing that Seishin couldn't handle. Seishin flawlessly evaded each of Volt's attacks before his eyes shifted at Kabuto. A dark violet aura enveloped Kabuto as he slowly removed his robe, his toned, yet scaly figure. As Kabuto growled, his eyelids became snake-like with his sclerae blackened, and a purple pigmentation stretched over his eyes and extended down past his shoulder blades. Then a set of horns, 4 in total, sprouted from his head, and the same large snake that was severed off, back in Dragondala, reformed. You wretched brat! Kabuto growled as he rose to his feet. His golden-yellow hues glared at Seishin. You made me a fool back in Dragondala, I won't let you make me a fool again. Volt, follow my lead. Fine by me. Volt answered before watching Kabuto perform hand signs. Snake Sage Art, White Rage. Kabuto expels a dragon-like entity from his mouth that carries a purple orb in its left front claw. Seishin watched while remaining unmoved as the dragon tightly coils itself around the orb. Sensing the faint sound from the orb steadily building up, he raised his index finger before a pin-sized, red and black ball of energy began to form. A small growl was made before firing a zero at the orb, destroying both it and the dragon. Sage Art, Inorganic Reincarnation. Kabuto called out before the room around them began to sway, molding into what Kabuto wants. Before Seishin could react, several arm-sized spikes sprouted from the ceiling, floor and walls, struck through him like a pig on a spit roast. This ends here. Volt yelled as he raised his sword up over his head. His glowing red eyes gazed at Seishin. His smug smile never left. Seishin remained unmoved since he destroyed Kabuto's white rage jutsu. Seishin! Ichigo cried. Seishin Dano! Maya called out his name. MSTR! Fenrir cried alongside Kurinai. Everyone watched as Seishin remained unmoved. Just as Volt's blade was merely inches from his head, several familiar voices called out to the young man. Seishin, you can do this. Aaliyah cried. You and your friends risked so much for me. To help rebuild and restore the Knights of Chivalry. I had once lost them due to Volt and his corrupt influence. Please, I don't want to lose you, too. Seishin. Celestine cried. You risked your life to save me. I will never forgive myself if you die by that man. Please win our freedom. Seishin, you helped restore my pride and my hope. You later became my king. Kachu cried out to him. Me, my mother, Anna and all of Dragondala owes you and your friends our utmost gratitude. Seishin, you risked your life to save me and Chloe. Olga yelled. You then showed us that not all humans are bad. Your hope is the key that opened my heart. Please don't lose to that monster. Yeah, I'll never forgive you if you die, Seishin. Chloe added. Come on. Beat that monster's butt. Seishin, ever since I crash-landed into your world, you were kind to let me help you with your mission. Murasaki said. You saved Ingrid, you got Asagi's trust. You had done so much to help us. Beating this thing is easy street. Yeah, come on, Seishin. Beat this monster. Ingrid cried alongside them. Seishin, you helped save us as well. Prim added. You saved Alicia, Maya, Kagaya and her maidens. Please don't die by that man. Please, Seishin. I want our happily ever after to come true. Alicia called out to him. Seishin, you always put our safety ahead of your own. Please don't lose to Volt. Claudia said. You can do this. You have the power to stop him. Seishin Dano. You saved me twice. You are always my guardian angel. Maya said. You can do this, I know you can. Seishin, don't lose. Kagaya cried. I don't want to lose my chosen one to this abomination. Go, Seishin. Beat that dog-faced BSTRD. Roro cried. You are Salinas' last hope. Go, Seishin. The knights cried out to him. Seishin's eyes glowed before his spiritual pressure began to rise. With a loud roar, Seishin broke free of Kabuto's jutsu and sent Volt flying back a few feet. To everyone's surprise, all of his wounds immediately healed up in seconds. The masked man slowly raised his head as he glared at both Volt and Kabuto, giving off a monstrous visage. Salinas, don't have room for scum like you. Seishin spoke. Time I end this. Once and for all. Volt and Kabuto glared at Seishin before they immediately charged towards the young man. He stood still with his eyes closed as Kabuto, with his violet chakra blades and Volt with his broadsword, and attacked him together. Seishin simply tossed his Zanpakuto in the air before he flawlessly evaded each of their attacks like it's moving in slow motion. Everyone was shocked at how fluid his evasion was, it was like he was in another realm. The two enemies were shocked, unable to understand how Seishin was able to evade their combined attacks with no effort. Before the two could react, Seishin immediately went in with the counterattack. He dashed towards them in the blink of an eye and landed a strong punch in Kabuto's gut, making him spit up a handful of BLD. At the same time, he absorbed a fistful of Kabuto's sage chakra before landing another punch in the face, breaking his glasses in the process. Volt saw Seishin's attack on Kabuto and attempted to attack him, but he anticipated the Mercenary King's attack and evaded his downward swing by stepping back merely a second before it reached his head. Seishin saw his Zanpakuto falling down, so he landed a heavy punch in Volt's gut, before he jumped back to grab his mighty blade. Volt growled as he went in for the attack again, but he was too late to react as Seishin not only parried it, but shattered the mercenary's mighty sword into tiny pieces and severed his right arm as well. Volt growled as he charged up a red ball of energy from his mouth and fired a beam at the young man. Seishin remained unmoved and unamused as the beam was merely inches from him. All the young man did was raise his left hand and blocked the attack. When the beam faded, Volt was shocked when he saw his own beam, absorbed in Seishin's hand. A calm growl was made, his eyes glowed brightly and steam was let out through his mask as Seishin glared at Volt. He then charged in and delivered a strong punch in his right temple. Seconds after the punch was made, Seishin's spiritual pressure quickly took back the power Kabuto stole from him when he rescued Claudia. He then watched as Volt was sent flying from his punch and into the Snake Man. Once the two opened their eyes they saw Seishin silently approaching them. DMNit, DMNit. Volt screamed at the unmoved man. How? How are you so strong? What makes you stronger than me? Answer me. Seishin never answered Volt's question, all he did was raise his Zanpakuto above his head before it was enveloped in black and blue flames, preparing his attack. As Volt looked at Seishin and the power he's exuding, he remembered the very words he left behind when he saved Olga and Chloe. KUROINU will fall, once the Princess Knights are saved. Judgment is coming for you, Volt. The Mercenary King growled with his fist tightened. It was then when he shifted his sights to Celestine who was watching the fight with a worried look. It was you, you salty elf. Volt said to Celestine with venom in his words. You saw him in your visions. You knew he would be the one to stop me and you didn't say anything. DMN you, DMN all of you. You brought this on yourself, Volt. Celestine said with seriousness in her voice. You corrupted this land with your twisted words, turned me and my friends into your SEC slaves, and especially when you tried to kill my apprentice. The SEC Empire falls tonight. KUROINU falls tonight. KUROINU will never fall, not to someone like you. I won't let that happen. Volt yelled as he opened his mouth once more and fired his beam. Kurwa Taiyo. Seishin muttered as he immediately unleashed his attack with hardly any effort, unleashing a large black and blue high-density beam at both Kabuto and Volt. The beam absorbed Volt's like it was nothing as it grew closer. The two men screamed when they were enveloped in the beam before it sent them and the beam flying out of Olga's castle and far out of the borders of Salinas. Until an explosion the size of an SUV was shown, 20 miles away from Eostia. Everyone was dumbfounded at the incredible power Seishin let out. Soon after, the young masked man turned to his team and slowly walked towards them. With each step, the mask slowly began to crack. His team even began to wonder if that was really Seishin doing all the fighting. Is everyone alright? The mysterious being asked, which everyone nodded. Seishin? Celestine asked. No. Not Seishin. The mysterious ally answered through Seishin's body. His mask slowly began to crumble. What are you? Aaliyah asked. I'm. Friend. The being answered, MSTR, wants to protect friends. I helped MSTR, and Salinas is now safe. You call Seishin, MSTR? Ichigo asked. What are you exactly? The being was about to answer but more of the hollow mask began to break, revealing Seishin smiling. Take good care of MSTR. I must rest until MSTR is ready. Tell MSTR. Until we meet again. After the being's last words, the mask was shattered and Seishin was back to normal. All of his wounds were gone and his body fell knee first to the ground before the rest followed. Ichigo and the others all rushed to aid him, but he was unconscious. He was breathing normally but he was unconscious. I don't know who was possessing Seishin. Ichigo said. It definitely wasn't his inner hollow, but one thing's for sure. Whoever that was, he helped Seishin defeat Kabuto and Volt. To me, he's an ally. Just then, Seishin's inner hollow possessed Seishin's body. Sat up. Are you Seishin's inner hollow, or was it the other being in him? Yoriichi asked. No, Yoriichi. I'm his inner hollow. Seishin's hollow answered. The being you saw and spoke with, he's asleep in the shadows of Seishin's inner world. He helped free me from the jutsu Kabuto used before he possessed Seishin. Before he went to sleep, he was able to restore my strength. Right now, Seishin is currently unconscious, but I have enough power to get us back to the chapel. We have to restore Celestine first. Right. Everyone replied as they left Olga's castle via shadow travel. When they arrived at the hidden chapel, Seishin's inner hollow, feeling worn from using the strength he was able to muster from earlier, took Seishin's body to bed. At the same time, Celestine was finally able to cleanse herself from the grime of Volt's grasp and restore her virginity using the divine oil in her bath. Aaliyah joined her in the bath also. Tears of joy ran down her face, happy that Celestine is reunited with her apprentice, and the other princess knights. 3 days had passed and Seishin was sound asleep, his spiritual pressure was restored and his natural strength had returned. Just then, an alluring smell reached his nose before the young man slowly woke up. When he did, he was greeted by everyone with Celestine holding a tray of pancakes coated in syrup with a glass of freshly squeezed orange juice. Good morning, hero. Celestine greeted him. Good morning, Seishin. Aaliyah greeted him alongside her teacher. Lady Celestine and Aaliyah. Hello to you too. Seishin replied, showing off his smile. And you brought me breakfast? Ah. You ladies shouldn't have. I couldn't stop thanking you for what you and your group had done to save all of us. Celestine continued while giggling at his comment. KUROINU's defeated, any remaining members had already fled and thanks to your team, people in Eostia are returning to normal. The only person you should thank the most is Aaliyah. Seishin said. If Aaliyah hadn't summoned me here, you and the others would not have been reunited and Volt would have spread his corruption further from Salinas. Yes, and I'm glad she brought such brave warriors like you to help bring peace to our land, along with Dragondala and Midgard. Celestine said as she turned to Aaliyah and hugged her. Also, good news, Celestine. Olga and Chloe want to join the Knights of Chivalry. Aaliyah said, which surprised her teacher. Ah, that is good news. Celestine said. Now that we have so many allies, what should we call this group? What about the Allied Knights Federation? He asked them. That's actually a pretty good name, Seishin. Aaliyah agreed. Indeed, that is a pretty good name. Celestine added. It was then a thought came to her mind. What should we do now? Now that Eostias is restored, we should host a celebration. A celebration, Seishin wondered as he began to think of something. I think I have something in mind. Or a place in mind. A place? What kind of place are you thinking about? Celestine questioned his idea. Aaliyah smirked at Seishin as she knew where he meant. Later that night, a large celebration was happening in Eostia. People were cheering and when a parade was happening on the town streets. Open-top, horse-drawn carriages decorated in royal white and sky blue with yellow accents were strolling through the streets. In the first carriage were Seishin, Ichigo, Orihime, and their Shinigami allies. The second carriage has both Olga and Chloe, Celestine and Aaliyah, and the princesses from each district along with Kachu, her mother Nina, and Anna from Dragondala. On the third carriage has Ingrid, Murasaki, Asagi, and Sakura, as well as Fenrir and Kurinai. Everyone cheered and thanked the heroes for restoring Eostia and its people to normal and removing Volt and his corrupt mercenary group. The parade continued onward through Eostia and its districts on the way to Dragondala, and every townsfolk that's in Eostia followed them. When they arrived at the Dragon Kingdom, a large celebration was thrown. Fireworks were flown to the sky, music played and people were dancing to their heart's content. Even the heroes partake in the festivities. As the party continued on, Seishin stood outside his bedroom terrace smiling down at everyone enjoying themselves. Seishin turned after hearing Celestine's voice, before seeing her and Aaliyah in soft white robes. The young man grew curious at their presence, but smiled as he knew how it'll end up. "My dear apprentice told me that you were really good to her and the others in bed," Celestine said in a sultry manner as she and Aaliyah pulled him into the room and towards his bed. "I was wondering if you can do the same to me. Hope you have plenty of stamina for us, Seishin." Aaliyah rhetorically asked as she and Celestine slowly undid their robes and showed him their NDE but curvaceous figures. Seishin blushed a dark red when he gazed at Celestine's large mounds and curvy rear. He tried to speak, but he couldn't think of a word to describe such a moment. All he could simply do was smile before the two elves pressed their bodies against Seishin's and stripping off his wardrobe before they all fell into the bed. Outside Dragondala Castle, everyone was spending time enjoying each other's company while the festivities were happening. Ichigo and Orihime happily played a few games like horseshoe tossing. Alicia, Evelyn, and Prim were getting their faces painted. Olga and Chloe were mingling with the residents of Eostia and Dragondala. Claudia was drinking some tea while sitting next to Maya, Kachu, and Kaguya. All were eating candy from one of the booths. Kurinai, Fenrir, and Roro were singing with the carolers, sharing their voices with the other townsfolk. Ranjiku and her Zanpakuto Hiniko were making poses while trying out some of their town's finest fashion. Murasaki, Ingrid, Asagi, and Sakura all were sharing a laugh while eating ice cream. Rukia and her Zanpakuto Sodi no Shirayuki were helping the other booth with making shaved ice as well as making ice sculptures for the town. Nozomi also helped another booth with painting appealing landscapes. Aaliyah and the other Valkyries came from Midgard to partake in the festival also. They met with Ichigo and the others before they all grew acquainted. "Hey, Ichigo," Aaliyah called him. "Do you know where Seishin went? He's missing out on some of the festivities." "Don't worry, Aaliyah," Ichigo answered with a smirk. "Knowing Seishin, he's already having a good time." Back in the castle, Celestine and Aaliyah were pleasing Seishin. The two slowly and softly ate the young man's tower while staring at him with pleasing looks. Seishin softly moaned at the feel of their tongues with their large mounds sandwiching his mighty. They each took turns wrapping their lips around the top and softly sucked on it. Celestine was first to do so for a few minutes with Aaliyah following. Minutes later, Aaliyah was sitting on the young man's, bouncing on his girth with her body jiggling with each move. Celestine was sitting on his face, with her legs spread open as she felt her pink lips getting ate and teased by his tongue. The high elf moaned while holding his head, making him dive in her deeper. Celestine smiled feeling the pleasure she rightfully deserved. Compared to Volt and KUROINU, Seishin was heaven personified. As Aaliyah was riding his mighty stallion, Celestine leaned in and began suckling on her apprentice's hardened nipples, earning a from the elf apprentice. She then received a lust-fueled embrace from her teacher. As she felt her inner walls tighten from feeling Seishin's strong rod going deep inside her, she felt her CLMX coming. "Seishin. I'm about to leak. Please leak inside me again," Aaliyah said. As Aaliyah bounced on his for another minute. After all she could muster, her mouth was left agape, her eyes looking up so lewdly after seeing so many stars, and her body quivered from her orgasmic CLMX. She also felt Seishin hot load filling her insides up. Seishin smiled and kissed Aaliyah before sliding his urkin out of her cream-stuffed crotch. After taking a deep breath to relax, Celestine pulled him into an embrace before she laid on her back with her legs spread open. Seishin, please take me. I want to be pleased by the new king of both Dragondala and Salinas. Celestine begged. Seishin smirked before he approached her as he rubbed the tip of his hot motor. He nodded before sliding it inside her slowly. Inch by inch, she felt her restored virginity slowly getting claimed until all of his was inside her. Celestine felt the pain from her virginity being taken before Seishin used his spiritual pressure to heal her inner wound. After the two nodded, Seishin began to slide his in and out of her entrance. Celestine wrapped her arms around his neck and pulled him into an embrace while they were smashing their hips together. Back at the festival, the knights along with Chloe and Olga, Murasaki, and Ingrid all grouped up at the town square. Yachiru, Nozomi, Ranjaku with Himiko, Fenrir, Kurenai, and Yoriichi joined them shortly. Ichigo, Orihime, Rukia, Asagi, and Sakura all decided to stay. They teamed up and play some more games while the festival is still going strong. Ah! This festival was perfect. Roro said. I just wish Seishin was down here to celebrate it with us. You don't need to worry, Roro. Yoriichi said. There is one reason Seishin hasn't come down yet. Celestine and Aaliyah wanted to see him. You think they're? Maya wondered. I think so, Maya. Claudia giggled. Hee, Seishin-sama is definitely doing what I think he's doing. Chloe said as she sensed Seishin's spiritual pressure with Celestine's and Aaliyah's. Wanna surprise them? Ingrid suggested with a playful smirk. There's no need to ask. We are his HRM after all. Murasaki said as she and the other ladies all nodded. Heh, let's go. Back in the castle, Celestine was riding Seishin like a stallion, wild and untamed. She moaned like a dog in heat as she enjoyed every bit of this. With each passing second, she felt her inner walls swell up as she got even wetter. Seishin, please don't stop. It feels so good. Celestine said as he fondles her soft pillows and sucks on her nipples. Her moans grew with such a harmonious melody before she smashes her lips with his once more. Though she wanted this to go on forever, she knew that her CLMX is fast approaching. But it didn't matter, all she wanted was to be beside Seishin now and forever. See Celestine. I'm about to leak. I can't hold it any longer. Seishin grunted, trying to hold it in before he felt Celestine's legs wrapped around his waist. Please leak inside me, Seishin. Pour your seeds inside my garden, my king. Celestine cried, begging for Seishin to release his load. After a few minutes, Seishin groans before he lets out his load like a torrential flood inside her womb. Celestine moaned with delight as she felt him flooding her womb while seeing so many stars in her eyes. Afterward, Celestine fell on his chst, with her melon squishing in between them. Aaliyah soon joined in the hug fest as the three of them looked at each other with smiles on their faces while catching the breaths. How was that, ladies? Seishin asked. It was heavenly. Celestine answered before the two shared a deep embrace. It was perfect, Seishin. Aaliyah added before she, too, shared an embrace with him. Until bang! It was at that moment when the door to his quarters was kicked open and his HRM all rushed in, only to see the three of them in bed together, naked. Somehow, I knew that you three would do this. Olga said with a calm chuckle before she and Chloe started stripping. I hope you still have plenty of stamina left for all of us, my soon-to-be husband. Seishin stammered as he saw them slowly stripping their clothes off. Seishin, I know you're ready for round 2. Chloe said as she, Olga and Evelyn all showed him their endowed and perky melons. Yeah, Seishin Dano. Let's make this night even more memorable. Maya added as she, Alicia and Prim stripped their clothing off. Come on, Seishin darling. You don't want to have your HRM waiting for you. Ranjiku smiled as she, Yachiru, Nozomi and Yoriichi all stripped down. Hey, we want to be in on the action, MSTR. Fenrir said as she took her armor off and showed off her bountiful body and bushy wolf tail. Kurinai and Roro also stripped off their clothes as well, revealing their naked bodies. Ah! I am blessed to have such high stamina. But I don't know if I have enough to handle all of you again. Seishin pleaded with them before Murasaki and Ingrid stepped in. Well, Seishin, we got plenty of chances to thank you for all you've done. Murasaki said as she slowly strips her uniform off, revealing her creamy NDE body. Seishin blushed like Rudolph's red nose when he saw the anti-demon ninja's massive melons, before he turned to see Ingrid. Heh, seeing that we're all naked, you know what will happen, leader. Ingrid smirked before she licked her lips as she gazed at Seishin's NDE body. She stripped off her cape and armor, revealing such a toned, voluptuous, tan-skinned body that rivals Yoriichi, Chloe and Olga. Seishin's heart skipped a beat and his manly piston immediately went irked when he saw Ingrid's ginormous jugs. Besides, I want to sample some of that stamina of yours again. Oh, sweet Cammy. Seishin muttered while he slowly began to crawl back against the wall. As he was about to reach for the window, Celestine grabbed his wrist. Everyone's eyes were heart-shaped like last time. I want to have another round with you, my darling. Let's enjoy this night, all of us, please. Claudia begged as she, Celestine, Aaliyah, and the others grew closer to him. Ladies. Ladies. No. 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 Seishin tried to reason with them, but it was too late. All the ladies reached out to grab Seishin, only for them to accidentally grab his hung glory. Seishin felt the full sting of his getting pulled so roughly as his pained cry echoed through the night sky. Aya. Not again. Seishin cried. Elsewhere in the far reaches of Salinas' forest, Kabuto was standing by a large cave, his arm and most of his body was slowly healing from the heavy damage he took from Seishin. He snarled as he remembered the humiliating defeat he had, before he was calmed down by the remains of the mercenary army. He turned to see 30 of his remaining forces and a handful of orcs and beast monsters with them. They then turned their sight at the one orc holding a black bone-like cage with red glass panels. In it holds a pitch-black soul shaped like a Cerberus. Kabuto then took the cage from the orc and after giving one more look at the night sky, Kabuto smirks as everyone began walking into the cave. Seishin is much stronger than we thought. Kabuto said. He may have bested us, for now, which means more time to plan our course of action. Kabuto took the cage before walking into the cave. Just then, a spirit in the shape of a Cerberus appeared. All according to plan, right Volt? Kabuto grinned before chuckling. The Cerberus spirit's eyes glowed red as he said his last words. Kuroinu will not fall. Project CNT Intental will succeed. You haven't seen the last of me, Seishin Samu. A week before Seishin's night raid. Volt was in his new quarters, yelling and screaming like a little kid with a temper tantrum. He reflected at the time he was successful with his mercenary group. He invaded each of the districts in Eostia and ruled them with an iron fist. He claimed his prizes, the Princess Knights, the Dark Elf Queen, her handmaiden and the Holy Elf Celestine, and publicly violated them, breaking them in as his SEC slaves. All but Celestine's loyal and confident apprentice, Aaliyah. The moment the apprentice escaped his wrath, his downfall began. One by one, each of those women were swept away by a man with a dragon mask which turned out to be Seishin Samu. The only one that was left to save was the High Elf, Celestine Lucullus. How? Volt muttered as he punched the side of the wall next to his mirror with his new arm that Kabuto helped mend from Nikolai's remains, and gazed at his reflection. A grim and vindictive look was worn on the tyrant's face as he reflected on his humiliating defeat against the man responsible for all that happened. How the F did that man, that punk, outsmart and outdo me? He defeated my army and my strongest teammate. He stole back the women we turned into slaves and restored Eostia. Volt glared at his own reflection for a second. After he blinked, he stared at the reflection of Seishin Samu. All the reflection did was smirk back at him and silently laughed at his humiliating defeat. Seeing his enemy laughing at him through the mirror, made Volt enraged. In retaliation, he yelled and punched the mirror, shattering it to pieces. DMNIT all. Volt screamed, which got Kabuto's attention as he approached his room. It would seem that I had come in a bad time, Kabuto said as he stood in front of the room's entrance. He watched as Volt slowly pulled his fist back. He felt the minor scars on his new hand from the broken mirror once he turned to the rogue shinobi. The leader sighed as he approached Kabuto. I already know how you feel. That man had humiliated me as well. You're doing quite a good job suppressing your grudge. Volt made a small scowl, as he tried to suppress his anger. His last fight with Seishin had left a crushing blow to his pride and to the organization's good name. As if it was good in the first place. Oh, believe me. I am indeed livid beyond belief, Volt. Kabuto said. Instead of brooding over past mistakes, why not plan to rebuild your utopia? What was it again? Project Cientientental? Volt listened to Kabuto's words as he suddenly calmed down, realizing that there's a way to continue their plan. His scowl was replaced with a smirk on his face as he patted the cloaked mutation's shoulder. You're right, Kabuto. There is a way to resume our goal. Volt answered as his smirk was turned into a malicious grin. Kabuto, do you have a jutsu that can let me communicate with others from another location? You don't have to ask, I'll gladly provide you the tool to do so. Kabuto chuckled as he performed some hand signs. Summoning jutsu. After Kabuto said the words, he slammed his hand on the ground. Katakana markings appeared around his hand in a circle before a burst of smoke filled the room. Seconds later, as the smoke clears, a small, jellyfish-like spherical body that is covered with scale-like plates, along with black tentacles ending in violet, bony spikes and a single gold snake eye. It slowly floated towards Kabuto before he softly petted the top of its spherical body. What the hell is this supposed to be, Kabuto? Volt wondered. This is a seer from Ryoichi Cave. Kabuto answered. They were rumored to have the power to see into the future with its supernatural insight. What this seer can do is communicate with others from a long distance. How far exactly? Volt questioned this mysterious being. Very far. As far as the ocean. Kabuto said with a grin. Interesting. Volt chuckled. I had forgotten that I had met a few others from Bowen that are secretly working for me while serving the king there. I would like to speak with one of them. Tell me who you wish to speak with and the seer will help you. Kabuto said to him as the seer's eye glowed a white light before Volt plans to call them. Over in Bowen, the seer appeared in someone's quarters until that very man came inside. He was a tall senior with brown eyes, a long gray mustache and matching eyebrows that's just as long as his face. He wore a long black and robe with violet accents to his uniform as well as the kingdom's insignia on his left shoulder. As he walked in, he saw the seer floating in front of him. Curious, he approached the floating object-like creature before its eye glowed and projected Volt's appearance. Prime Minister, Reuben von Bernstein. Volt said his name. Ah, Lord Volt. The elder man answered before bowing to him. What do I owe the pleasure of your presence here? I want to know the status report on Bowen. Volt ordered. But of course. Things here in Bowen are rather quiet, but it's going as planned, as you requested. Reuben answered. The king still doesn't suspect a thing. Soon he, too, will be overthrown and eliminated. Good to hear. Continue to keep watch on the land. Volt said with a sigh before wearing a scowl. Is something wrong, my lord? Reuben asked, wondering what is up. Just continue to watch over the kingdom, Reuben. Volt grumbled before sighing. But also, if you see a red-haired man by the name of Seishin Samyu, stop him. Humph, this Seishin Samyu must be a fool to get you pissed off, my lord. Reuben smirked as he was picturing what Seishin would be like. A small chuckle was made, until this BSTRD killed more than 4 dozen of my men, took my former slaves, and made a mockery of me. Volt exclaimed with veins trying to pop over his head. He should not be taken lightly. I see. Reuben looked at Volt with seriousness in his face, now seeing that the KUROINU leader wasn't joking around about Seishin. Very well, my lord. I'll be sure to make sure Seishin Samyu will never set foot into Bowen. Good. Volt said as he ended communication, and the seer that was in both Reuben's quarters and in Volt's castle turned to mist and vanished without a trace. The merciless leader sighed before Kabuto hatched up another plan. You have that odd look again, Kabuto. Volt glared at the bespectacled snakeman. It is usual that Kabuto has such unique plans that can work almost 60% of the time. The last time his plans came to fruition was when he sided with Jinyal to take over Dragondala. The second time was when he stole some of Seishin's DNA after the Shinigami killed Nikolai. Volt, what if I tell you that even with the serum, the odds of you becoming victorious, is drastically slim? Kabuto suggested before he was pinned to the wall by Volt. Better choose your next words carefully, Kabuto. Volt growled at the shinobi, who had him pinned with his long sword against his throat. I hope you don't have some other ulterior motive to oppose me. Kabuto simply chuckled before he lightly moved the blade away from his throat. He then took a deep breath and simply looked at him in the eyes. I'm saying, in case if this plan to eliminate Seishin Samyu fails, there is another way to get more power. He answered. Explain. Volt questioned his wordings. Kabuto simply grinned before fixing his glasses before clearing his throat. There is another way to get more power, Volt. Kabuto said. But at a price, you must embrace death by your enemy's hand. Back at Bowen, Reuben walked over to the large windows and looked over the night-covered kingdom. A scowl was worn on the Prime Minister as his glare hardened. Whoever this Seishin fellow is, he must be one strong man that can make even Volt absolutely enraged. Reuben said to himself. I better be on the lookout for that man. He must not get in the way of Volt's plans. I'll be sure that it doesn't happen. I must gather a group of people that will help for the cause. Present day. It's been 2 months since Volt died and KUROINU was defeated by Seishin and his team. Within the 2 months, things in Eostia were getting restored. Homes were being rebuilt, people becoming friendly with one another, and life resumes as normal. Even some of the builders took time to build a new monument of the district's hero in the center of town. As for Seishin, his peaceful days with the Princess Knights, Kachu and her mom, Nina, who also joined the Knights, Celestine, Olga and Chloe, were very enjoyable. Even with his time with Kurenai, Ingrid, Murasaki and Fenrir were equally enjoyable. With each day passed, the girls grew more attached to the young man. Even Murasaki and Ingrid had discussed with Asagi and Sakura, and they chose to stay with Seishin and the others. Even they seemed to grow attached to them. Sometime in those weeks, Celestine arranged a meeting with the princesses from each land, which Seishin joined, per request. They all talked about plans of unifying the districts by doing what they would call a polygamy wedding. Seishin was astonished at the idea at first, especially after Celestine and the other ladies asked him. Seeing that each of the girls has such romantic interests, especially since he helped save each of them, he gladly accepts. However, when there were good moments, there were sad moments as well. No. I wanna stay here with Seishin. Yachiru cried like a cartoon character in a Tex Avery cartoon as she hugged the young man so tight. Both Nozomi and Ranjaku managed to pry her off him before he started to suffocate. You're all leaving, aren't you, Ichigo? Seishin stood outside the base with Aaliyah and the others, seeing Ichigo and the others preparing to return home. Yeah, man. Ichigo replied. This world is impressive, but it isn't the same as ours. Besides, this world has a strong protector. And that's you, Seishin. Yeah, Ichigo's right. Rukia added. You have this world to protect, while we have both our world and the Soul Society to protect. I understand. Seishin sighed as he looked down. His fists tightened, his body remained still like a statue and his hair covered his eyes. The only thing they can hear are his grunts as he tried to resist trying to cry in front of the others. Rukia approached him before placing her hand on his shoulder, getting his attention. You don't have to cry, Seishin. Rukia smiled as she consoled the young man. We did have a good time, and besides. This isn't goodbye. Think of it as a way of saying, we'll meet again, later. Seishin looked up at Rukia despite his eyes looking teary-eyed. He then turned to Ichigo and the others who were smiling at him as well, before they all hugged him. Orihime, on the other hand, gave copies of her recipes to Olga, Celestine, Ingrid and the others. I made you copies of my recipes. Orihime said. I know you'll do well with them. Thank you for the recipes, Orihime. Celestine said as the two hugged. After trying your dishes for the first time, I just couldn't stop eating them. My pleasure, Miss Celestine. Orihime said as she and Celestine shared a laugh. I know you and Aaliyah will do well making it. Are you kidding? Your original dishes are perfect. Maya cried as she and the other princesses cheered, which made Orihime smile and blush at how much they love her dishes. Olga and Chloe stood with Yoriichi. Chloe was tearing up a little as she said goodbye to one of her two mentors. Yoriichi chuckled before she hugged her tightly. Don't cry, Chloe. Yoriichi said as she wiped the tears off the elf's face. You and Seishin-sama taught me so much. Chloe said while trying to calm down. I don't want to see you go. What if there's more of your skills that I want to learn? You still have Seishin. He'll gladly teach you all that he knows. Chloe then looked at Yoriichi for a second before turning to Seishin. Besides, I did teach him some of those skills, and the rest he learned on his own. Stand strong, my loyal knight. Olga said to Chloe before she nodded and stood back up. Yoriichi, thank you for helping us out with training. Don't worry, I'll be thanking Seishin very soon. You are most welcome, Olga. Yoriichi answered before she and Olga shook hands. Seishin wiped his tears and replaced it with a calm smile. He nodded before he stood back, letting the others have their space. Aaliyah calmly nodded before she used her elf magic to open a portal back to Karakura town. Come on, Seishin. Ichigo said before he gave Seishin a noogie. You're a king and a strong leader in this world. I know you can do this. We'll come back, whenever you need us. Nozomi said. We may be a part of your HRM, but it doesn't mean this is the end. Ranjaku added. You're right. Seishin said. See you around, man. Ichigo said as he and Seishin shared a fist bump. Nozomi, Yachiru, despite being teary-eyed, Yoriichi and Ranjaku shared an embrace before the group walked into the portal. After Ichigo and Rukia shared one last wave goodbye with Seishin, they then went into the portal before it closed. Seishin, Asagi and I are going back home as well. Sakura said. Even you, Sakura? The young man asked. I'm afraid so. Sakura said. Even though we've been in this world for a short time, it's a lot more peaceful. But we do have a mission to accomplish, and we won't stop until Edwin Black is gone. Asagi said as she approached Seishin. The navy blue-haired ninja smiled before she placed her hand on his shoulder when he looked down a little. Seishin, I want to say thank you. For all that you did, and for taking care of Murasaki and Ingrid, too. By the way, are you two sure that you want to stay here with Seishin? Sakura asked them. Yeah, we're sure. Ingrid said. There's still more enemies here to fight and I'm willing to help Seishin and his team defend this land. There are still others back home that are willing to help you. Murasaki added. What about Rinko and Yukike's? They're currently on another mission but we'll swing by to help them soon. Asagi replied. Since you're going, Yoriichi, Aaliyah and I made these special kunai. Seishin said as he handed them a box of kunai. What's special about these kunai? Asagi asked. There are 10 of them, each of these has my sabatial embedded inside them, each with a different objective. Seishin explained. The last 4 are special. These 2 are exclusively for Edwin Black and your homeworld. This one will strip him of his powers and make him mortal, making him easier to kill. The other one you simply stab it in the ground, and all the demons will be gone and your home returned to normal. The other 2 are in case if your friends are being corrupted by the demon underworld. Seishin, how were you able to do that? Sakura asked. I almost died using sabatial multiple times one night, draining my life energy until I was almost a lifeless husk. Luckily, my inner hollow, Orihime, Aaliyah, Olga and Celestine were able to restore my health. Seishin answered. I also had traded a couple of my body parts, like my arm, leg, even a lung and kidney to help make this. Asagi and Sakura remained speechless from the young man's efforts to help. The 2 saw some slight physical fatigue from using sabatial multiple times. From the slight sleepy look on his face, to the muscle mass on his body that's steadily recovering. Still feeling the pain from the aftereffects. Seishin muttered while placing his hand on his left ribcage. Seishin. Sakura said as she looked at the daggers and then back at him, before she embraced him in a hug. No words can express how much this means to us, Seishin. Thank you. As Asagi looked at Seishin who was being hugged by Sakura, she remembered the night that he went to talk to her after her fight with Ingrid. Seeing his kind and selfless nature reminded her of Kosuke Sawaki, and how much he cares for her as much as Seishin does for them both. Seishin, we are forever in your debt for what you did to help us. Asagi smiled at him as she hugged him as well, before Aaliyah opened the portal for them. Asagi and Sakura, I got your portal ready for you. Aaliyah said. Whenever you're available, feel free to come to our world. Sakura said. We'll gladly set up a party to celebrate. Thanks again, Seishin. Until we meet again, friend. Asagi added as she and Sakura planted an embrace on Seishin's cheeks before she and Sakura walked into the portal. After the portal closed, Seishin sighed as he closed his eyes and looked down. The bangs of his hair covered his eyes before tears ran down his face. Celestine and the others saw him getting emotional before they all helped cheer him up. We miss them too, Seishin, but don't worry, we'll see them again. Celestine said. I know, Celestine. I know. Seishin replied as he wiped his tears before he and the girls went back inside the base. The next day, Seishin along with Celestine and Olga, the princess knights as well as Queen Nina and the newly named Queen Kachu arrived at the town center to give the people an announcement. Celestine casts a spell to broadcast his announcement. From Salinas to Dragondala and beyond will soon see Seishin's announcement. People of Eostia, lend me your ears. You may have heard rumors that a cloaked man with a dragon mask had saved each of these ladies and foiled KUROINU. Well, I am here to tell you that the rumors were half true. Seishin took a deep breath before he brought his cloak out. He immediately puts it on and summons his hollow mask, surprising the people. Seishin then dehollowified before he resumed. My name is Seishin Samu, I'm a soul reaper from another world. He continued. It has been nearly half a year since I was brought here, thanks to Celestine's apprentice Aaliyah. She, alone couldn't stop Volt and his army, so she escaped with her life and sanity intact. Needing someone to help turn the tide, she summoned me here and begged to help save the others. Seishin's right. Aaliyah added. Though he saved the others and my teacher, he didn't do this alone. It was a team effort thanks to his Soul Reaper friends as well as others from different times and realms. With their help, they brought back the Dark Elf Queen Olga and her loyal assistant, the Princess Knights and my teacher, and put those dogs in their kennels. Thanks to their efforts, we decided to form a new union, the Allied Knights Federation. Celestine said as she and Olga joined in. The Allied Knights Federation consists of Seishin, myself and Olga, Aaliyah and Chloe and our Princess Knights that you all know and respect. Our new goal for the Allied Knights Federation is that we'll recruit more warriors from different lands like Dragondala and defend them from KUROINU and other groups associated with them. Olga said. People began to chatter, they nodded and agreed with each other after hearing what they had to say. I also want to announce that I, along with my loyal knight, Chloe, will join the knights as well. I know I have a long warring history with Celestine, and I'm willing to make up for my mistakes by helping her, Seishin-sama and the others defend our home. People of Eostia, rest assured. Seishin added. We will build a brighter future for this land and the other lands. Together, we won't let people like Volt sink his claws on the innocent and pure. No one will break this moment of peace. Not while we're here. The townsfolk cheered, happy to hear such good news. As they applauded from hearing the good news, Seishin was tackled to the ground before he was covered in kisses, by his loved ones. Once they got back up, Seishin's face was covered in embrace marks like chicken pox. After the announcement, everyone took part in restoring the districts. The Princess Knights told Seishin that they're going back to their homes to help with fixing up. Seishin kindly nodded before they all went back to their homes thanks to Aaliyah and Celestine's abilities. Aaliyah later asked if she could use the flute to take Chloe and Evelyn with her, KUROINU and Fenrir to Midgard. He kindly nodded before giving her the flute and watched the 5 of them leave. Just then, an idea came to Seishin's mind. Well, since everyone's helping out, why not me? Erupt, Red Nova. Hano Kuran. Seishin stabbed his Zanpakuto in the ground and manifested 6 duplicate flame copies of himself. Each of them were acting casual after they saw Seishin before he returned his Zanpakuto to its sealed state. So, Prime. What do you want us clones to do? Clone number 1 asked him. I'm glad you asked. Seishin replied to his clones. What we're going to do is help out with rebuilding each of the districts. Number 1 will go to Fio and UR and help Alicia and Prim. Number 2 will go help Claudia in Jefu. Number 3 will help Maya in Rad, number 4 will go and help Roro in Answer, number 5 will help Kagaya and the maidens in Thorn, number 6 will help Kachu and the others in Dragondala. Are you all ready? Yes, sir. The clones replied with a salute. Excellent. Now scatter and have fun. Seishin replied before the clones immediately left for the districts using either shadow travel or flash step. In the meantime, Seishin ran to help the people with restoring their shops. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 11. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Takumagara 2012 on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.